When I was a kid, learning how to play the fiddle, my mother used to pray daily that sometime in the future, they'd make a fiddle that made no sound. They actually have those now.
Guitar Stuff with John.
Welcome to Guitar Stuff with John. And guess what? Today is not guitar stuff. It's actually fiddle stuff. But that's all good. We love fiddle here too. And if you know anything about me, you know I play a little bit of everything. Guitar, fiddle, banjo, mandolin, bass, piano, drums, whatever. Had to do it all my life. Keep the food coming in the door. And I've been mostly successful. Anyhow, today I'm going to talk to you about an instrument that was provided to me by Yamaha. And I'm not unfamiliar with this instrument. I've actually owned one of these years ago. And what they've sent me is actually a new design. And very fascinating. And what we're going to talk about is the YSV 104 with my shoulder rest hanging off it. This little beast right here. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. It's a very well-made, well-thought-out, ergonomically and pleasant to look at thing. It's a very interesting instrument. And so, basically, and it's their intention that this instrument be a practice instrument. And now, I'm going to tell you some stories about silent violins. I've used different silent violins throughout my lifetime, and they were indeed just for practicing. And very seldom ever used them live because they really have a completely electronic sound. But there's something about having a violin that plays well and gives you all the motor feedback and muscle memory feedback that doesn't make any sound, at least nothing that you can be readily heard from far away. This thing does actually make sound without being plugged in, and which makes it a perfect practice tool. So it does have a very kind of pleasant tone, not plugged in, and that's a good thing. Because you can really hear the notes well if you're in tune or not, right? It's a great tool to practice your intonation because all that comes out of it when it's not plugged in is high end, really, and vibrates your chin a little bit, and so you get to hear with your body that if you're in tune or not when you're playing. So that's really good practice advice for anybody, and it doesn't have to be one of these. It can be any silent violin. But so in lieu of kind of taking a look at this close up, because there's really not much to look at, it's a very simplistic design. It is basically all solid wood. It's even the frame and everything is all made out of mahogany, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful design. It's well made. It's well put together. The core of the body, this part right here, is a nice 5-piece of wood, like spruce mahogany, like stripped down the middle. It's made out of maple, you dick. Jesus, don't make fiddle necks out of spruce. Holy God, who found this guy? It has this proprietary Yamaha kind of peg box here with a little white Yamaha sticker on it, as you can see right there, which is really pretty. All of the parts and fit and finish of this thing are very nice. It's very well made. It has an actual wooden chin rest fastened to the violin in the usual way, just like that. The end pin, of course, is weird to see an end pin on a violin just sort of all by itself like that, but it holds the tailpiece. You can see the gut coming down, and it has a nice premium aluminum tailpiece with adjusters, as you can see there as well. And so the build of this thing is really, really nice. Now, here's a couple things about this thing that struck me odd. First of all, you have this button array, which is right there. It's not much of an array. So this is the volume button for the electronic output of the violin. This button here turns this volume button off and on. Now, I'm not sure why that is, except if you're playing with this live, which I doubt anybody would actually, although we're going to see what it sounds like. It does sound really nice. This is the lowest model that they make, the YSV104, so it doesn't have any bells and whistles on it. The higher models, especially the old ones I used to use, they have everything from a shoulder rest that actually comes with the violin, that's designed for it. This is just my regular shoulder rest. And onboard effects and onboard, like a headphone out, a mini headphone out. This is passive. There's no battery in it. There's batteries in the higher level. So what we're looking at here is literally the real bottom of the line practice instrument that you can plug in if you want to through an amplifier to get more sound. So what we're going to do is going to plug this thing in, and I'm going to defeat this volume button because I'm going to use the volume buttons on my amp. And as I was about to say, that must be the only purpose for this, is so that when you plug it in, if you defeat this volume button to turn it off, your volume control automatically reverts to your amp or your studio or whatever you're plugging into. So, yeah, it's a very interesting situation there. Not quite sure exactly why that would have been necessary, but it's an interesting feature to have. So also, I would assume that the headphone, if you put headphones in this, it's got a 1/4-inch jack in it right there. So if you plug headphones into this and turn the volume button, activate the volume button, you have control of that, right? I don't know. I haven't tried that because I never would. I would either just play it unplugged or stick it in my amp. The other thing is this proprietary pickup that Yamaha has invented, which you can see right there. It's an insert that is literally part of the bridge. Now, I'm going to tell you a horror story. I've been setting up my own fiddles my whole life, and one of the things that you have to do with a violin when you get it brand new, and I mean brand new, never been owned, sometimes the bridge is just too high, and these things ship high, like so high it's unplayable, and that's fine because that means that it's customizable to the player who ends up the end user. But this bridge doesn't actually come off the fiddle. It's attached by a very short 1/4-inch piece of wiring that goes into the system, of course. And so you can't lift the bridge off the fiddle to adjust it, to sand it down, file it down. So Ginger and I literally had to, because her hands are smaller, we literally had to take the strings off and kind of hold the bridge in place and shape this bridge down with a flat file, which is not good. It should have been done with the bridge in your hand on a piece of sandpaper and the proper angles and all that stuff done, and that's the only way to do it. It's very difficult to shape this bridge the way it exists on this violin because it's attached. So my suggestion is, if you buy one of these things, that you have the shop where you buy it make your action adjustment, because it's too dangerous, I believe, for most people to cut this down, because there's a danger of actually breaking off this lead because it's so short, and if you bend it and tilt it over too many times, it could well break off. So the pickup in this violin, this proprietary embedded, I'll show it to you again. It's actually embedded right. And it's very large. Look how big it is. And it's got those two wings that stick out into the bass and treble sides of the bridge. And the sound of this thing is really good because of the way this is designed. A quarter of the bridge is live piezo, right? So let's hear it. Here we are, plugged into my Fishman Artist loud box that I use for everything: guitar, mando, fiddle, whatever. And mind you, I haven't had a pickup on my fiddle in years because I actually prefer mic'd sound. But I'm going to tell you what, I just played this thing through this amp. The amp is set nearly flat and very little. This thing has tremendously high output, almost as high as my K&K pickups on my guitar. It's barely on. It's like on 2, and it's flat. I got some nice reverb there on it, so it kind of sounds like I'm in a hall. And just listen to this thing. It's very, very good. Very good. Pretty damn nice. Like, wow. It sounds really, really good. It's a very good sounding pickup. And even with my kind of half-assed action job, it plays really easily. It could come down more. And also, I'm not a fan of the strings that it ships with, but I'm never a fan of any string except my own brand, which are Parastro chrome cores, is all I've ever really used. And I also like Diodario preludes. I've always loved those. They don't last quite as long as chrome cores, but they're a softer string, so I'm a big fan of the Diodario preludes as well. But I don't know what else to say. It sounds really good, and it sounds like a fiddle. So would I use this live? Potentially. I'm not sure how long it would last. It is just very gently made, very. It's wood. It's wood, right? So it's hard to say. It doesn't come with a case, which I found a little disappointing. But the models above it, the 204 and 205, which is a 5-string version of this, come with a case, I would assume. And but overall, I think this is a great instrument. Would I play it live? Potentially, yes, I would. And I don't know how long it would last out on the road, like getting knocked around and dropped, and God knows what would happen to it. But if you're just looking for an instrument that's got a actually really killer pickup system on it that you can mess with your, put your effects on it and your whatever, this thing sounds like a violin. And what more do we want when we're talking about a silent fiddle, right? The model above this one is actually designed for live use, and I would assume even sounds better than this one, and probably is built maybe a little more sturdily. Although this is not fragile, but it's more fragile, I believe, than a regular fiddle. I don't know, but it looks like it might be. But other than that, man, this thing is primo. So check this out, and I'm not sure the price on this. I don't believe they're very much. They're under $1,000, I think. This one here, possibly around the $600 mark. I don't know. And this is Canadian funds, of course. And hopefully, I'll get my hands on the model above it, because I had the high-end model of this violin years ago. It was red. It was pretty, and it didn't sound this good. This is a new system, and again, Yamaha kind of knocks it out of the park, because they build their own things, right? And that's what I love about Yamaha. They're not afraid to innovate, to look at a different way of doing things, and they take sonics and the sound of instruments very, very seriously. When they designed this pickup, I guarantee you they weren't looking at this going, well, we just got to get volume, right? They weren't looking at that. You can tell by the way this thing sounds that they took very careful note of what an acoustic violin sounds like. And in my opinion, this might be one of the nicest fiddle pickups I've ever seen. It's very live, as you can hear. It's very live. It's like having a microphone almost sitting in the top of your violin. So there it is, the YSV 104 Yamaha silent violin. There's a whole range of these instruments as well. I showed you the silent guitar already, which I love those things. And yeah, so I really appreciate Yamaha donating this to us to review. And hopefully, if you're looking for a good, solid practice fiddle that you can use at home to just maybe plug a headphone into or put through your amp or just play unplugged just to get that muscle memory going, this is an excellent option. And hopefully, like I say, they'll send me one of the 200 series, and I'd love to show you one of those, because I've used those before, and they really are a road instrument. So this is your entry level, and we thank you, Yamaha Music Canada. And yeah, I happen to be releasing this actually on National Fiddling Day here in Canada. So what better way to celebrate than play my Yamaha silent fiddle? See you next time.